M Live Media Group is here at the DeVos Place in Grand Rapids, where we'll be conducting podcasts throughout the entire ESTO conference. First up, Katy McNeil.
And our guest on this episode of the podcast, live from ESTO, Katy McNeil. How are you, my friend?
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Such a Nebraskan thing to say, right?
It is a Nebraskan thing to say, which we are excited to talk to you about the amazing state of Nebraska. Specifically, what are you representing today here at ESTO?
So I'm from Columbus, Nebraska. My husband and I have lived there for about 7 years. So I'm a transplant from the East Coast. So when I come to a community, I'm looking to get involved and find things to do and be able to tell other people things that they can do too. So it's kind of, I'm here representing Something Good Columbus.
And so, the tagline is something good, and we're going to jump into that. But before we even get there, right before we started talking, you let us know about this amazing fact about your career in Nebraska started 8.5 seconds before a global pandemic. Can you talk about what that was like?
Legitimately, it was March 2nd of 2020. We had just gotten back from a vacation, like a destination wedding, and that was pretty much the end of our travel for a long time. So it's like, welcome aboard, here's a pandemic. And so pivot was my word.
Got it. Yeah. And so for you, like coming into this, what was that like for you, right? You come back from a glorious wedding, you've got 10 days before the whole planet shuts down, and then you've still got to figure out how to do what you do.
How to do tourism
when
exactly. Nothing is being toured.
We're not touring, yes.
Yeah, that was tricky. So we did a lot of community scavenger hunts. So I guess I should say Columbus is a community of about 23,000. So we're not huge by any means. Our county has 34-ish thousand people. So there's a lot of space. So we're lucky in that aspect. We have a lot of farming. There's a lot of parks. We have 26 parks in Columbus.
Oh, wow.
That people can get out and enjoy, playgrounds, live music still safely, all of those things. So what I did was something called Corn Theme Days.
I love it.
So, I was in a position I needed to get to know a lot more of the business community. So I reached out to a few people thinking that this would be a week. I ended up doing 48 days of Facebook Live. So what I did was they would donate something. I would come up with a theme for that day. People could post memes or things related to that theme, and then I would do a Facebook Live drawing where that business could talk about what they're doing to keep people safe, how they can shop even though the storefront's closed, like online or teleshopping. They set up private fashion shows, some of the businesses did. So you could literally go in and you had the whole store to yourself. It was like Pretty Woman. And and then they would steam all the clothes and sanitize them once you've tried them on. We really worked hard to promote that shop local. We had the best local sales tax year in a long time. And actually, our tourism budget did okay. We had a lot of construction. So we got a new hotel, we got some new boutiques, some new restaurants opened. They just took that leap of faith, and we did gift card days where people were encouraged to go buy their coworkers a gift card. That went a long way. We did Takeout Tuesdays, so you could go order curbside pickup, things like that. So we have a really great local support system.
So what's it like now? And I asked that with kind of the context that we have seen in the United States. 10 million Americans figured out that there's a thing called camping, right? And so they poured out into the wilderness and bought tents and things like that. Are you guys seeing that same sort of vibe in Nebraska? Because in the UP here, we are seeing a flood of humans that are like, what is a waterfall? I had no idea, right?
We see a lot of that. We've actually had 3 campgrounds that opened up. Actually, 2 that opened. One's called Riverland Campgrounds, and they're right on the river. So they've got cabins and a lodge, and it's just gorgeous. One of our smaller communities, Platt Center, just opened another campground. So it's pretty, it's common now, more so. We get a lot of campers traveling through. So I don't know if you know this, but Columbus is legitimately the crossroads of the United States.
Yes, yeah.
So dead center, east to west, you find Columbus, Nebraska. So there's a lot of people traveling that US 30, that Lincoln Highway and Byway. So that was cool. We get a lot of people doing Highway 81 for 81 years of living, or like just celebrating little milestones like that. So, I mean, there's been a lot of road tripping, but again, Columbus is still growing. We have a Caesars Harrah's casino coming in because gambling was legalized last year in Nebraska. We have a cultural arts center, including a children's museum, state-of-the-art library coming in. We have stock car races and horse races. I mean, Columbus is really fun.
The question we're asking everybody is, if we've never been there before, we're coming to Columbus and we're staying for, let's say, 2 nights.
Okay.
What are the things that we absolutely have to check out?
Okay.
And, in what order, maybe, if there's a specific order, right?
I don't know that there's a specific order, but we have a lot of live music, actually. So, like on Thursday night, this last Thursday, for example, we had live music in the park. We had downtown. We had live music at Shenanigans Bar and Spisak Bar, and we had the Ballmer Brothers from Nashville. I mean, so we have a lot of live music. So I would say that's a top thing to do. Gloris Tavern. Gloris is the oldest tavern west of the Mississippi.
Wow.
So Buffalo Bill Cody used to come through Columbus too. So I would say stop into Gloris for a famous burger and their Gloris fries, which are like homemade thick cut potato chips. They're fabulous.
Yum.
And if it's summer, the Pawnee Plunge. We have one of the top water parks in Nebraska. So, I mean, it's open during the summer, mostly from like May. I think they just extended to August 14th. Spend a whole day, splash and play at the plunge.
So the other question I like to ask, though, is for somebody who's lived there for a minute, right? There's those kind of pro tips that you don't pick up if you just show up the first time. If I've been to Nebraska before, I've been to wherever, what
or if
part
you're
of,
a resident that says there's nothing to do
yeah,
here,
Yes, exactly. Anybody that kind of falls in that category, what's your thing that you're like, oh, have you seen this? Because it's either my favorite thing to see, go, do, taste, feel, whatever.
So my first pro tip is to get our app. We have a Something Good app. That's literally what it's called in the app store, and it's for all of Platt County. So you'll learn about the nuke that was accidentally dropped in one of our communities. You'll St. Michael's Cathedral. I mean, you'll learn about, we have the Andrew Jackson Higgins National Memorial. So he came up with the idea of those flat bottom boats, and he's touted as the man who won the war. By the presidents. And so, I mean, we have sand from all the beaches that boat was used in. So I would say the app is a good place to start to see what else we have. We're also kind of weird. We have 3 golf courses for that town of 23,000.
Wow.
2 municipal and 1 private course. So we have great golfing.
We're in 2022, heading into 23. Things feel like maybe not normal, because we're not going to go back to normal, but they feel new. Like
normal-ish.
We're in the next chapter. What is the climate? What do the people there feel like? If you live under this umbrella of Something Good, I would imagine kind of there's that vibe in Platt County. Is that what I will feel like? Talk to me about how the people there feel coming out of this and going into what's next.
Well, I would say in general, we have a reputation of Nebraska Nice. So everyone is super welcoming. So if you come to Columbus, Nebraska, you can stop into any business. You can stop someone on the street and they'll give you instructions, directions, whatever you're asking for. Most people are pretty knowledgeable about that. But there's an attitude of there's more good coming. We're in a transition. We're doing a call for public art, so we're putting a lot of emphasis on arts and culture. We just got 3 new murals in the last 3 weeks.
Wow.
That went up. I know. So we're trying to get a arts and culture district for our downtown Columbus area. There's just a really good attitude about the future of Columbus. Now, the hard part about that is we can't keep up with the amount of houses that we need to bring in because we have a 1% unemployment rate. What that boils down to is like 185 to 200 people in Platt County that don't have a job. And so we have a lot of manufacturing. Becton Dickinson, we're home to them. Balin Country's international headquarters are in Columbus. Vishay Dale, they make chips for your cars and your computers and everything. So we make car seats in town. I mean, you name it, we probably manufacture it. But to keep those lines going, and we hear about supply chain shortage all the time, we need people to move there, but we have to have housing for them. So we're in that transition stage where we're trying to work on a lot more housing initiatives. So getting some of the older generation to move out of their homes where they had 6 or 7 kids, and it's just grandma and grandpa in there now.
Yep.
And so moving them in, and those are realistically the first-time home buyers that are going to want a home like that. You know, for me, we were a first-time home buyer when we were in Columbus initially, and we were very lucky with what we were able to pay for our home. But now that home's value has gone up almost $100,000.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so a new home, you're looking at like $300,000 to $400,000 to build new, and that's not realistic. So we're at a pivotal point for those types of things. But as far as the culture of Columbus and Platt County, I'd say there's definitely more good to come.
Now, Katy, is there a dream project of yours, something that you would love to see happen that just hasn't happened yet, or the timing's not right, or the infrastructure, or whatever? But is there do you have not a dream book
Things
necessarily,
that
but
I
do you have
wanna see.
a thing that you would love to be your legacy when you kind of move on to whatever's next?
Gosh, legacy.
No pressure.
So there's a group in town that we have called Centro Hispano, and we have a fairly large Hispanic culture in our community because of the manufacturing and the farming and things like that. They are working on creating a first of its kind in the United States welcoming and belonging center. So whether you are a visitor, you're a local, you're a resident, sorry, those are kind of the same
Sure,
thing,
yeah, yep.
or you're an immigrant, that you belong there. So that is really cool. So we'll be able to welcome anyone through those front doors. Our visitor center, the Visitors Bureau, after over 20 years, we just added a new staff this last week. She's on her own this next week. In marketing and communications, we have a 250,000 square foot field house being built right now. So I'd say legacy wise, I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Things are going really well for us. I would like to see more indoor recreation. Like I want rock climbing walls. We need like go-karting and things like that. I think that would be a lot of fun. Yeah. I think that's really what we're missing. And I think with Harrah's and Caesars coming in, we'll have a lot more live music. We'll get some more hotels. My entire budget, I don't know if you know this about Nebraska, is built on lodging tax.
Got it. Yep.
So we collect a 4% lodging tax, and so 2% of that goes into improvement grants. So it's for creating, developing, and enhancing visitor attractions. So I get to see a lot of those fun projects coming through for things like that.
That's awesome.
So to keep that healthy, to keep growing, to make Columbus and Platt County better for future generations, I guess, is my legacy.
And so we are here at ESTO, right? It's an education conference on tourism. And so what are you here for? Like, do you have a specific thing that you want to kind of dive into, or like what excites you about the next couple days?
Just learning, the caliber of learning from the people that are coming here, whether it's the attendees or the sponsors or the exhibitors. I think there's a level of learning that you find at ESTO that you can't find in necessarily your home state, because it's not fiscally responsible to pay those people to come to certain things. So I am here wide-eyed, ready to learn. Last year I attended in LA and I was like, holy buckets. There's so much. And so, I mean, I didn't know anyone last year. I kind of came by myself, sat back and watched and learned. Pivot was the word of last year too, and recovery. But I was charged by some of our locals to take pictures of the community, and Grand Rapids is beautiful. It's very clean. Even my Lyft driver from the airport last night was like, people are always amazed at how clean our city is. And so I'm looking at everything from the pride that people take in where they live, the beautification efforts that have made in flower box and street lights and signage and things like that, to the convention space. You probably saw me taking pictures as I was coming up because I want to learn. I want to take back those ideas. Otherwise, it's not worth paying for me to be here.
Sure.
and I'm new enough in my career. It's been like 2.5 years, and 1.5 actually of those was pandemics. So I just have a lot to learn.
Katy McNeil, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you, Eric and Paige. And